Hello everyone welcome to the round 5 wrap-up stream. Holy moly, what a weekend. Unbelievable. Just going to double check obviously that you can hear me as always. My goodness, what a crazy weekend. Unbelievable. How good is rugby league? The footy has been amazing this season so far. I don't even care about SuperCoach, to be honest. It's just so good to see really good games, really close contests as well. Today was unreal in terms of the games. We had Golden Point yesterday as well with the Knights Manly game. It's amazing how many close games we've had. So I hope you all had a good weekend and really enjoyed it. I'm honestly so happy just seeing such good high quality games. The SuperCoach points, to be honest, at the moment, I'm kind of feeling a bit secondary. Obviously it's nice if I get some, but they're really good. Like the Warriors, amazing, right? I think so many people will be happy to see the Warriors doing well. Jacob Preston, absolute king. What a man. Comes in with a double, 111 points. Amazing. Nico Hines bit the bullet, got him this week. Halftime, I was licking my lips. I didn't want to tweet anything because I was like, you just don't know what's going to happen. But I was making memes. I was ready to fire off if he went big. Didn't quite happen in the second half, so I had to hold fire on posting any funny memes or anything like that. But he did okay with 85, I guess. My trades didn't really work out, to be honest. Murray down to forward, Walker out for Hines. Murray scored 86, Walker scored 85. I would have been better off just not doing those moves. In hindsight, I would have captained Turbo, who went 100 plus, but it's fine. It's all hindsight. Happy with Hines obviously getting 85 points and locking him in. Payne Haas, I don't own, 95. Big scoring week. I think this is probably the biggest scoring week we've had across the board, because obviously last week, bit of an outlier. Not everyone had Nico Hines, whereas this week, a lot of the big popular players went off. Rhys Walsh went good, Payne Haas and Nathan Cleary, Tom Trbojevic, Ruben Garrick, Nico Hines, they all did pretty well. So, Jacob Preston, Lockie Miller, Greg Marzu, so many players did well this week. A lot of point scores, but still a lot of close games. Really, really happy to see that. And I'm, to be honest, most happy for the Warriors, I think. I was even thinking about it on the way home today. I was like, you know what? Obviously, I'm a bit sad that Nico didn't go explode in the second half. But to be honest, the way that game went down, I was kind of like, I can't really be mad. It was so good. And SJ, Sean Johnson, he was the half we all needed to try to buy this week. 117 points, I think he finished on. Unreal. I'm so happy, to be honest. It was such a good week. I'm seeing a lot of really good scores as well. Before I say hello to people in the chat, people who are wondering, I finished on 1277. Obviously still some updates to come, but in terms of the past scores, I did a tally of the scores in the Podmasters Cup. So a lot of the podcasters, average score there was 1282. There's a second Podmasters League, which was average was 1289. So it's a bit of a high scoring week. I think I'd probably say at that point par is about that 1250 to 1270 range. So I think if you've gotten around that, you're fine. I think if you've gotten 1300 plus, I think you're in for pretty decent. I think you're in for a good week. 1350 and above, I think, yeah, you've had a really good week. I did see someone in one of the leagues I saw had 1433, so obviously that's quite a big score. But yeah, that's kind of maybe a general idea of par score. I think if you've gotten around that mid 1200s, you're probably just about okay. And if you've gotten above 1300, I think you're probably done just fine. So that's kind of how I view the par scores, I guess, this week. So 1277, I'm happy enough with that. I think it's probably going to be maybe not a massive green arrow, but I might not probably go down rank-wise. So I'll take that for sure. But yeah, anyway, we'll say hello to people in the chat. Nathan Kembry, all hell King Preston. Preston Mania is in full effect, 100%. Tipping was average this week from Raymond. Yeah, I can't remember what I got in the tips. I tipped the Bulldogs, so I was really happy with Matt Burton's field goal at the end there. I tipped the Sharks though, so obviously that didn't come through. I'm actually just looking at the game. So I tipped Roosters, Penrith. I tipped Rabbitohs, so I didn't get that. I don't even know what happens in a tie game like Manly Knights. I tipped Manly, so obviously that hasn't quite worked. I tipped Dragons, tipped Broncos, tipped Sharks, and tipped the Bulldogs. So I got the Sharks game wrong. Pending what happens with Manly, I got the Rabbitohs game wrong. So if I get given the points for tipping for the Manly Knights game, I'll get 6 out of 8, which is okay. But yeah, thank you. Hello to everyone in the chat. Paul, Hamish, Supergun, Davey K, Cody. What will you do? Daniel, Sai with a really big 1393, really good score. Paycheck, Will, Alaric, Mark, Hamish, a lot of you guys, Joel McIntosh, Mike, Liam. There's so many people watching, which is great to see. Seeing a lot of questions coming in the chat as well. But yeah, I mean, what a crazy weekend, right? Didn't end up going Zach Hosking. I know I was very keen on him last week during the stream, but there was an article from the Daily Telegraph which kind of mentioned that, yeah, Luke Garner will be back. I kind of thought, yeah, Hosking's nailed the spot. He did play very well again this week. So we're interesting to see what team list shows on Tuesday. Obviously, will be someone who I think, hopefully, if we get a clear picture of both Garner and Liam Martin being back and we see Hosking stay in the side, that makes it very tempting, I think, to maybe jump on him. But so he's definitely probably firmly in my trade thoughts. I was very keen on trading out Reid Marnie up until he threw a try assist for Jacob Preston. So the reverse jinx worked. A couple of very successful reverse jinx. I was like, yep, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is out of the team next week. He goes and then scores a try. And then same thing with Marnie. I was like, he's out. And then he goes and gets in a try assist. So he got up to a respectable 60, but obviously had to rely on the attacking stats. Karaz, absolute king, just keeps getting it done. 73 points with a couple of line breaks. Take those away. 53 in base power. Just keeps pumping it out. Absolute machine. Taruva scored a double, 63 points. So obviously not amazing, but look, 63 points I'll take. Didn't play Warbrick, but look, happy he got 58. He'll make some cash. Rhys Walsh has obviously been a great trade in. I do kind of feel a little bit bad for people who own Latrell, because I was very much in the camp of like, no, hold Latrell. I think he's going to come good. He got 67 points, which is okay, but Rhys Walsh is keeping on killing it. Tigers really not looking great. Broncos looking, again, quite good. To answer your question, no, I didn't end up using the boost. So originally, I can't even remember what my boost plan was last week. I think it was to get in Schuster, but obviously Schuster was ruled out. So I just ended up doing Murray to Jackson Ford, and I did Sam Walker out for Nico Hines, who I captained. So obviously, out of the main three captains, I was deliberating in Cleary, Hines, and Tavovic. Hines was the lowest, but look, 85 points versus 106. We're talking 20-something points. And to be honest, I was never really seriously even vice-captaining Cleary, so I can't really consider that I lost out on those points. It was either one of Hines or Turbo. So I look at that decision, it's about 20 points. It's not a massive one in the end of the day. Front row forward, obviously, is a bit of a concern. Pele doing something, 32, although I think I heard fractured forearm, so he could be out. Welch and Oichikamanu just plodding along, and Payne Haas is just looking unbelievable. Again, I feel bad for people who I recommended Tarpany. Tarpany's being solid, 61 something, but Payne Haas is just absolutely killing it. Scored a try, but even that, I think it's just the fact that he's looking to offload just makes him look really good. So yeah, I think Haas is probably the front row forward you'd want to go for. He's got the form. Broncos are looking good. They still have a pretty good run of games as well, and maybe Tarpany, you look to just maybe pivot to him just before the origin period starts. Okay, so that's kind of a quick wrap-up, I guess, of stuff in my team. Hopgood, not ideal. We'll get Dave Fafita back next week, which is great. Because of the trades, I guess maybe just to give you some early trade thoughts just before maybe I start getting into some questions. So I've only used the one boost so far, so I'm pretty open to using a boost, to be honest. So I think with 112k, I can probably afford Matt Dury passes break even. So I can probably afford Matt Dury out for Hosking if I want to go with the Hosking route. What I was also thinking was, I do think I probably want to maybe get rid of the hammer. He scored the try, but the base was a little bit down, and I think without Sean O'Sullivan, Dolphins aren't going to be quite as good. The run coming up is, I guess Cowboys is a decent matchup for him, and Rabbitohs is okay at Suncorp. Then it's the Titans, and Raiders are not looking very encouraging as well. Got 50 put on them by the Panthers. So maybe there's a few games in there where he can score some points, but I do think he has more or less peaked in price. So I'm thinking whether I just jump ship and maybe try to upgrade him. Now, Manly do have Penrith this week, but I think Ruben Garrick again still scored 82, just solid as. So I'm half thinking, could I maybe just go Tabuai-Fidow to Garrick? A couple of Newcastle players and targets, maybe in Greg Marzhew and Lockie Miller, just keep on killing it. Obviously, Marzhew led in a try, which was a really bad defensive read, but he still looked good in attack. So I guess it's just always a job security risk with him. I'd maybe think, if I was real 50-50 between the two, I'd maybe go with Miller. He was goal kicking again after the very first goal kick. His job security is pretty safe. So maybe Miller's the one I would maybe lean instead of Marzhew, but they're an option as well to go to centre wing. And to fund that, I'd probably have to go someone like Reid Marnie down to a really cheap hooker like Sonny Luke, or maybe Hands from the Eels. I can't remember what Hands actually ended up scoring. So those are a couple of early trade thoughts. I could obviously upgrade the front row forward, but I'm kind of thinking I'll do that in round 7. That's when Oichikamanu has the bye, and maybe at that point I'll look to upgrade him. Welch has got the bye in round 9, so I do think between the round 7 to 9 period as well, we'll try to upgrade the front row forward. But I think it's just that kind of position where I'm like, if I need to just keep those plotters going along, I'll just do it. I'd rather maybe focus on the higher upside of Tabuai-Fidow to Lockie Miller was 50-point swing this week. Whereas with front row forward, Welch to Haas is a 40-point swing, but that was with Haas getting a try as well. So, they need to do more, I think, to make those get those good points. And yeah, obviously Garrick was a good buy this week with the Knights matchup. But the Knights, to be honest, looked okay. But yeah, obviously very, very high scoring game. All right, we'll start maybe just digging into some of the matches, but I will get through some of your questions as well. I think I've just been rambling for the last 10 or so minutes, so let's start having a look at some of your questions. Too late for Rhys Walsh. That's tough. Like he's looking good still looking really good. I'm kind of wondering if he is maybe just that kind of type of player who we just need to adjust our focus on. Like obviously a lot of us have him, mainly because of selling Tedesco. Obviously, Teddy failed his HIA, so he only scored, what did he end up scoring? 22 points. And he was looking pretty good at the beginning, but obviously knocked out, not ideal. Rhys Walsh is just kind of looking like, yeah, maybe he's just that guy that we just need to change how we previously thought about him. Maybe we have to start looking at him as one of those elite fullbacks as well, alongside the likes of Teddy, Latrell, Turbo, and things like that. Fresh cut on looking good. Thank you, Sticky Nicky. I got a haircut this weekend. I definitely needed it. The hair was getting too long, so got a little trim, thankfully. Walsh is he's looking good. Like the Broncos are just looking good again. And I know it was the Tigers who had 28 put on them in the first half, and some of the defending was pretty awful. But they still have some good games, don't they, the Broncos? I'm just going to quickly go to my little draw planner. So next week is round 6. So they've got the Raiders and the Titans. Like the Raiders at home. Like Raiders are conceding points. They still don't have Jack White next week. Then it's the Titans in Queensland. Like we know the Titans league points. Parramatta still league points as well. Like I'm looking at those next 3 games and still thinking, yeah, you know what, Walsh could be really good. Obviously, it sucks now that you've seen a lot of points come in, and if you haven't jumped on him already, I'm looking at someone who owns the Latrell, who's got Bulldogs, Dolphins away, then Penrith. Yeah, you would still say that Walsh's next 3 are better. But it's a really tough one. I think if you're holding on to Latrell, it would have been a case, I think, of, if you had moved a few weeks ago just before Rhys Walsh was going up in price, obviously that would have paid off for you. Rhys Walsh the ball, Latrell just looks lazy, yeah. Rhys Walsh's 2021 iPad, that from Brods, yeah, that is kind of the comparison I was thinking about, is that, you have these players who just come out of the woodwork, or Rhys Walsh obviously didn't come out of the woodwork, but they just become like a relevant Supercoach option, and sooner rather than later you just start thinking, okay, forget that he can't keep this up, you just like, I just need to get the guy. So maybe he's one of those players. I'm happy I've got him in, but obviously looking real good. Okay, let's see. Ian Johnson saying Tabuai, Fido to Marzu, Holmes to Walsh. Holmes is an interesting one, isn't he? So obviously, we'll take a quick look at the Bulldogs Cowboys game. Let's just quickly take a few seconds just to admire that beautiful Preston man, 111 points. I haven't got a poem for him. Double trouble, whatever you want to call it. Preston Mania. Let's just keep throwing out those nicknames. Beautiful haircut, all that kind of good stuff. I'm obviously extremely happy with that double. Val Holmes 59, again, not doing a whole heap. But I feel like I'm saying that a lot now, the last few weeks. It's like the first 5 weeks have been like, he's not doing a lot. He's not been awful. He's kind of getting around 60, not really getting a lot of attacking stats. But in that centering spot, how long, I guess, can we keep saying that for? The Cowboys' good run is going to kind of end around round 8. So I'm looking at here, what do we got with the Cowboys? We've got the Dolphins this week. Then the Warriors, like, I'll probably, I think from next week, change the colour scheme. I can't have the Warriors as a bright green fixture anymore. Surely not. They're looking amazing, looking really good. So that game, I guess, is not easy. And then this Newcastle, Sharks, Roosters, Dragons and Tigers in round 11, 12 is really good. I'm kind of thinking with Val, I think at his price, I believe his break even was around, I want to say it was around the 60-ish. It was 65 and he scored 59. So he's not really going to go down in price, I guess. So he's going to stay around his price. So I'm kind of thinking I might just stick with him and hope that there's some upside at the end. But otherwise, what I'll do is I'll probably just maybe hold him all the way until just before pre-origin. And then maybe we can reassess. But Walsh is looking really good. I think, to be honest, I think it was Ian who was suggesting Val to Walsh. I'm thinking about it. I think I'd probably lean towards doing it, if I'm being honest. I think Walsh is looking like that guy where his ownership's starting to get very high as well. And the team is just scoring points and they've got a really nice 3 games coming up. Like, it's better than Val Holmes' next 3, put it that way. So, yeah, I think Val to Walsh, to be honest, probably does seem to make sense. Holmes gets 60 with no attacking stats, 1 try and line break, and you wouldn't make a comment. I mean, that's completely fair, right? Like the 60 points is fine, but I guess it's, I'm looking at, I know people who did Val Holmes to Garrick this week. They made about 23 points on that one. Val Holmes is just looking like, I guess he's kind of doing very, very good, solid job, getting 60 points, maybe 60 to 65. And yeah, is not quite the 75, 80 that I think probably at least myself was hoping for when we picked him at the start of the year, because we saw the draw and thought, that's amazing. But obviously we're seeing now the Warriors are a much better team. The Bulldogs are a lot better. The Dolphins are good. It's really only the Tigers. Like at the moment, it's probably the Tigers and the Raiders are really the two teams that stand out at the moment as kind of leaking points and maybe you can target. Even the Knights, yes, they concede points, but they're still being somewhat competitive in games the last few weeks. Those three teams plus the Titans probably the best in terms of conceding points that we maybe target for SuperCoach. But yeah, it's like the Warriors, for example. I know they conceded 32 points, but just like the way that game started, you would have thought, oh, here we go, Warriors of old, but the resilience was awesome. They came back and looked really solid. So yeah, someone like Val Holmes, I think, just to get back to him, I still don't see him as my biggest priority in terms of a sell. But I think if you're someone who's sitting there and you're really struggling to who you would sell for Rhys Walsh, because I do think Rhys Walsh is getting to that point of like, yeah, you know what, it's not like a, like what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's like it's not an accident that he keeps getting good scores after good scores, and the games are really good coming up. So yeah, to answer your question in a long-winded way, probably would do Val Holmes to Rhys Walsh if I was being honest. Thoughts on Lockie Miller? I saw a couple of people asking that. Lockie Miller's looking great. I was messaging the Whisperer who does own him. He started goal kicking after the first attempt by Hastings, and I thought, okay, that's really useful. And the base stats are really good. The tackle busts are really good. Just going to quickly look at his numbers from the Knights game. So he scored 95 points. If I'm just going to take away the try assist, I'm going to just look at the goal kicks. So let's say 6 points in goal kicks because he did miss one. 6 points plus 26, 32 plus 11. What's that? 43. 43 in base and goal kicking, which is a really good floor for a center wing. He is getting expensive now at 669k, but he is obviously getting those attacking stats as well. The goal kicking is very helpful. I know his defense was pretty ridiculous against that in that first try against Hamoli. Yeah, as Mudcrab says, his F up for the Hamoli try. Yeah, it was just, he generally, I think, just didn't realize that he was standing. He thought that the try line was, he thought he was standing as in goal, and he thought ahead of him was like the 10 meter line. He thought the try line was behind him. Just, yeah, like there's no other explanation, I guess, for what happened there. But yeah, Miller is looking really good. Definitely, I think that this week there will be a topic of like the Marzu versus Miller, because obviously Marzu scored a try, 102 points. I mean, just looking at his numbers, like 18 points in tackle bust, like just classic Marzu, right? 2 points in tackles, a forced dropout obviously as well helps, but like 39 points in runs plus the 2 points. Like we're looking at 41 base, add in the tackle bust, and we're looking at high 50s. Like both Marzu and Miller looking really solid. If I had to lean right now, still Miller, I think, because the job security is just much better than someone like Marzu. But obviously at Marzu's price, 581k, it's a nice little price. Like for me, Hammer to Marzu might only cost me 100k, and that feels like a really nice upgrade. And James saying like thoughts on Val Holmes to Marzu. I think a lot of people, yeah, will be looking at doing Holmes out. Like Marzu, I think is going to be a very popular trade in. I don't know what Hymel Hunt was out with. If someone wants to correct me in the chat, that'd be really helpful. Because if it was a very short-term thing, I'd be very interested to see what happens on team list. Because Dom Young scored 4 tries, looked really good. I'd like surely he has to stay, and then it's up to either one of Hymel Hunt or Marzu. But yeah, in terms of Val Holmes to Marzu, I can kind of see it as a way to like free up 100k, which you could maybe use as an upgrade elsewhere as well, to be honest. SE Warrior saying, do I trade out Hines to Sean Johnson and fix up my front row forward to center wing for round 6, bring him back round 7? I mean, I know Hines is obviously now on the bye. I do feel like if you've got Hines in place, just don't mess around with the trades there, because it's still somewhat risky trading him out with getting Sean Johnson and then trying to then, make sure that there's nothing else happens in your team that you can allow for getting Hines straight back in. Because if something else happens, then maybe you can't go to get Hines straight back in. I know Sean Johnson looked amazing, and to be honest, all season he's actually looked quite good. But I still just do feel like the Hines-Cleary combo is what we need to just lock in. Like Cleary obviously did very well this week, 124 points. Got that very, very late junk time line-break try assist to Jamin Salmon. Of course, Jamin Salmon was going to score against the Raiders. It just had to happen. But he scored very well. We can't forget that Hines did score 78 points in that first half. He was on 60-something in the first half now. And I was thinking, whew, this is looking tasty. Obviously, it didn't quite happen. I just do think that those two are going to be the ones that you lock in. It's a shame that Sean Johnson is only halfback only. If we could get him at 5'8", it'd be a nice little pod, I think, to go for at 5'8". But that halfback spot just does really feel like Cleary Hines is the combo. And maybe SJ is someone that we look at around the origin period if you want to sell someone like Cleary. But yeah, obviously the Warriors are just in such a great place at the moment. I was really seeing Tohu Harris not being named. I thought that gave me extra confidence in the Hines captain, and it looked like that way for the first 20-30 minutes. I was thinking, sweet. But the Warriors were just so good and just came back. And as I mentioned, I was very happy to see that the Warriors did very well, to be honest. So Paycheck says, you need to get Hines and Cleary in your team and forget about them. I kind of feel that way as well. Like, I've kind of got that combo now, and I'm kind of just sitting with it. I know Sam Walker did well this week as well, which did, I was very conflicted on that Thursday night because obviously I'm a Roosters fan, so I wanted the Roosters to do well. Walker was doing well, and I was just like, yes, but I was like, oh, no, I sold him. Don't do too well, Walker. And then he got 85 points, which is 82 points. So he did well this week, but what can you do? The Hines appeal was too strong. And the 85 points, look, to be honest, I think that's kind of a good score for everyone. I think non-owners, after seeing what happened in the first half, probably thinking, yep, 85 will happily take it. I feel a little bit let down, but I'm also like, look, 85 is not bad. I won't be too greedy, and I'll take the 85 points. I'm thinking of downgrading Reed to a cheapy hooker to get Day for feet up. Yeah, so now this is something I'm thinking about as well. J-Wall TV, if I pronounce that name correctly. So in terms of the cheapy hookers, there's really not a lot to go to. It's really Sonny Luke or it is Hands. What's his first name? He only got 16 points. Not ideal. Brendan Hands, sorry. I forgot. I just mind blanked on his first name. He didn't play that many minutes from memory. I'm just going to have a quick look at NRL.com just to see what his minutes were, because this is something I am thinking about as well for myself. Can I go downgrade Reed Marnie? I know he got that attacking stat, but it wasn't looking very good until then. He played 30 minutes, which is, I guess, okay. The only issue as well with downgrading Reed Marnie is that I'm assuming if you're running a Harry Grant combination in your hooker position, so he's got the bye in round 9. So that's when Melbourne have the bye in round 9. So that's going to be a time where you're going to have to obviously rely on your backup hooker, because I'm assuming you're not going to trade out Harry Grant. At least I'm not considering trading out Harry Grant. And so in that week, if you were to hold on to Reed Marnie, he's got the Dragons, so it's a pretty good matchup, so he could obviously do well there. Penrith have got the Tigers, so obviously this might make me lean going Sonny Luke, because if I just want to downgrade that position and not rely on it, I only need that guy for 1 week. If I can get Sonny Luke versus the Tigers at home, maybe that's the week, because he might only play 40 minutes, but he might get a couple of attacking stats. Brendan Hands in that week has got Newcastle, so again, maybe that's a decent game for him. I think I would lean Sonny Luke. I feel like his minutes are just more secure. Like the minutes ratio between Sonny Luke and Mitch Kenny, I imagine, would be much better for them compared to Hands and Josh Hodgson. I think Josh Hodgson was obviously brought to the club, and I think he's going to be obviously playing the majority of minutes. Someone's mentioned Tanner Boyd. To be honest, Tanner Boyd is an option maybe as well if he's kind of reduced in price. Titans play Manly in that week. He is dual, which is helpful. I'm just thinking, so yeah, Penrith don't play the round 13 bye. Parramatta do, so maybe that's something that makes you lean towards Brendan Hands. So I think maybe Sonny Luke is the option if you want to downgrade. So it's something I'm thinking about. He's probably the first person that comes to mind if I was to go for a cheaper number 9 position. He obviously didn't play this week because he was ruled out with the HIA, but I do like the fact that he actually has the Tigers in round 9. That could be a game where he doesn't actually need to do too much and get some points. And Matt says, Amman, better to hold Luke. I think he will make money in about 3 to 5 weeks, but you just have to accept that you got the auto emergency. Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I'm kind of thinking about it is like, yeah, he could, like, he's not obviously going to be a massive moneymaker starting out because he's gotten a couple of low scores. He's going to be one that is going to take some time just to make the money, which is fine. If we think that he's going to be one who over time gradually increases his minutes, then I don't mind just going down to him. You obviously could. Someone's mentioned Ray Stone in the chat, which is a decent shout as well. What did he score this week? I can't remember. Let's look at the Dolphins game. He scored 33 points. I can't remember how many minutes he played. So maybe he's an option as well, Ray Stone. But and he's got dual. I think he's got second row forward and hooker, so that is fairly handy. So again, that's maybe another reason why you go for him. So I think there's a couple of options there. I think I'll need to just have a bit more time to think about it, put some tables and numbers together that I always do normally. And so, yeah, maybe Ray Stone is the option there. Jeremy Marshall-King is back. So he wouldn't be playing. I think he played number 9 during parts of the game against the Dragons. And he played 50 minutes in total. So, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd rather still maybe go for Sonny Luke just because if I think he's going to get to maybe like 40 minutes a game, he's just playing for a better team, that maybe the chances of attacking stats is better as well. Chanzuka Kulksard scored 71 points without doing much. I didn't even see his score, to be honest. Yeah, wow, 71 points. So I was kind of half watching this game. My KO was kind of messing around a little bit during this game, annoyingly. So there was parts of the game that I missed. Like I missed the Murata Niokore sin bin, for example. I only found out because someone mentioned it to me on Twitter. I think it was Moz actually who mentioned it to me. And so he scored a try and I was like, thank God. So I didn't end up selling him this week because of the whole Schuster being out. So I figured I'll keep Niokore for this week. And actually, I do need to give a shout out as well again to, I think it's NRL SC Statman on, or SC Statman on Twitter. I'll put his handle. I put his handle in the last week's video. But he posts really good thread now on Twitter where he posts basically what's the average points conceded for each team. And one of the reasons I actually kept Niokore was if you looked at the Sharks, on average so far this season, they conceded 63 to the right second row forward. And I knew Niokore was playing there, and I looked at that and I thought, oh, okay, it seems as though they're conceding points there. And that was one of the reasons why I kept him, as well as not trying to just like go down to Schuster. And it actually turned out well that he actually scored a try there. Now, I know obviously that's just worked out this week, but it does seem as though there is some kind of consistency behind those numbers, and it is actually useful to pay attention to those as well. So I will try to feature them more throughout the channel and the season as well if I can, because that did help me out as well. Niokore out for 2 weeks, I think, with a hip drop. Yeah, I did hear something about a hip drop tackle as well, Ian, so I want to go back and watch that again. I think I might have missed that when my whole KO was wigging out. But yeah, obviously if he's out for 2 weeks, then he's probably going to be a sell for me. I might just sell him to Hosking instead of Dury, for example. Hopgood to Maddo. I don't know what to think about Hopgood, if I'm being honest. Like, again, we're seeing like the minutes just kind of being all random. Like 2 weeks ago, he had a low minute game when a lot of people captained him. Last week, he came back, played really well, 77 minutes, and I thought, great. Now this week, how many minutes did he play? He played 62 minutes. 62 minutes is not bad. And Madison obviously was very good. 61 points, I think he scored. The reason why I'm thinking I might just hold on to Hopgood is because we saw obviously the first 2 weeks of the season. Sorry, I'm just getting my thongs back on. The reason we saw Hopgood do so well at the beginning of the season was him getting those attacking stats, right? Like offloading, try assists, etc. This is when the Eels draw opens up now, right? Looking at round 6 onwards, you've got Tigers, Bulldogs. I guess Bulldogs, Broncos isn't the best, but you do have the Knights, the Titans, the Raiders. It's a pretty good run coming up. And like a Titans game, you can already imagine Hopgood like offloading, getting among some attacking stats somehow as well. So I'm kind of thinking Hopgood might just be a hold for me still. Like he's not giving me any massive reason to want to sell him, I guess. So I do like Madison. His numbers are really good, but I'm not sure if Hopgood to him is the one that I'd be looking at, because I'm just looking at those runner games and thinking there's a good chance that Hopgood with his offloading ability does get a few more attacking stats potentially. Josh King is smoky. Yeah, so Josh King did score a try, which did boost his score up, but he did end up scoring 91 points. He did obviously have a very good round 1. Since then, he's been kind of okay. I just find him hard to fit in, I guess. Like, there's so many good second row forward options, and obviously he could be one of them. If I take out the try, okay, yeah, he made 45 tackles, including the missed. 45 plus 22 is 67. And the intercept. So 67 points in base is obviously very, very good. We should definitely pay attention to that. So maybe King is a kind of second row forward option. He just feels, I know he got a try this week, so it sounds ironic to say it, but he just feels like a plotter. Like someone who's going to get me maybe 60, 65 every week. Where someone like Hosking, I think, might have, if he keeps a spot, obviously, big if. If he does, he's got equal base, but he's got that attacking upside. And especially if imagine if Hosking just stays on that right edge spot, just going to keep getting fed by Cleary. It's just lovely. Like it happened again this week. It's happened 2 weeks in a row now. Can already see him being like a really good option who I'd probably prefer over Josh King. So he's a bit of a smoky. He's doing well, but I don't feel like if we don't go for him, he won't punish us, put it that way. Seeing a few people asking about trading Teague Wilton out. So Ian Johnson is saying Wilton to Matto. I think Ian is quite keen on getting Madison this week. Now, look, Madison was good and his numbers were very solid, but at the end of the day, he only ended up scoring 62 points, which is pretty much all in base, which is good, but it's fine. It's Cam Murray. Look, put it this way: Cam Murray was scoring 62 points, and he was the most traded out player. So I think the 62 base is fine, but like if he scored a lot better this week, like last week was really good. Like for his price, I think potentially there's still a lot of value, like in the Hoskings, for example, who can maybe get similar, but at a much cheaper price. So I think Wilton to Hosking, yeah, I can kind of see that because of the buy this week. Incentier is saying if you wanted Hosking, you should probably have bought him this week. I mean, I was very close to buying Hosking this week. The reason I kind of chickened out, I guess, in the end was reading that article about Cleary was saying that, this is Ivan Cleary saying that, Luke Garnett will be back. And so I was like, oh, okay, there's enough doubt in my head where I can maybe just give it another week and jump on Hosking in round 6 and his price won't change. So I still think it's okay if we didn't go for Hosking this week. And yeah, as Matt says, he almost got 2 tries. He was very, very close one time. Like I thought he scored. And I was actually really annoyed because I thought he scored. And I was like, oh God, I didn't get him and he scored a try. He ended up scoring a try anyway. But he was like literally like a centimeter from the try line. So I'm just looking at him thinking, oh, he's got that upside in him. And he's just to be honest, his base was actually down this week. I should be frank, like 21 points in tackles, plus 20 in runs. So 41 in base. It's a little bit under what we normally see from him. He's normally around a 50, 55 base guy, but he's got that attacking upside, which I do like, just playing outside of Cleary. Obviously, massive shout out to anyone. I think this Connor, someone I think he follows me on Twitter. I think he's also a subscriber. I'm pretty sure he owns Isaac Dungo, 142 points, unreal. So yeah, if you're any Dungo owners out there, let me know in the chat. You obviously had a huge week from him. To'o and Taruva basically matching each other, although To'o did it without any tries and Taruva needed a double. So To'o has been still an interesting one. 65 points with no attacking stats. I think he got a line break in there, but that's about it. Tackle busts, runs basically. They took away a line break. I thought he had a line break in the first round of scoring, but more or less base stats, just being To'o, doing To'o things. But yeah, someone who sold To'o to Garrick, obviously it's only made like 17 points, but he's just not quite getting those attacking stats. It's not quite getting to him. Both Crichton and Tungo do have a case of glue hands from time to time, especially Tungo. Sometimes he's very selfish, but he can also back it up. He's very good, so I can kind of see why. Big week from that fat guy, 1348 before updates, so that's very, very good. Jake is asking, is it too late to get Haas in? Bloody Payne Haas. Don't own him, and he's gone and killed it. 95 points. That includes a try line break, but like honestly, it's still like 72 points without it. 72 points base power. Like he's just being an absolute beast. And he's offloading. He's looking to offload a lot. I feel like the last couple of seasons we haven't seen him really being offloading, whereas I think now he really looks like he's starting to offload again, which just makes him very dangerous. So obviously he's expensive, 712k. I think his break even was lower than the 95. It was 48. He's going to go up again in price, unfortunately. So I don't think it's too late to get Haas in, because as we saw with the Broncos, they still have the Raiders-Titans games coming up. I mean, you can see Pass getting some more offloads and stuff in there. And I know Origin's coming up, but it's still like 7 weeks away. Like at this rate, yeah, it does look like he's the best front row forward to go to. I'm sure some people in the chat would have told me that 2 weeks ago, but I'm probably now fully realizing it because I've been still kind of thinking Tarpany might be the one. But he comes out and goes 95 and offloading again, looking really good. So I think he's still probably fine to grab this week if you can. I'm wondering how I can go from Welch to him because Welch is just being a plotter, getting 55 every week, and Haas is killing it. Moz is asking you best options for Ryan Sutton. Got barely any money. I mean, I don't know what Ryan Sutton is priced at. What is he priced at? Oh, that's not Ryan Sutton. That's Curtis Morin. Ryan Sutton is 448. Oh, it's a bit of an ugly price, isn't it? You're just going to have to find the money, I think, just to try to get up to like Max King. Like Max King, shout out to Max King. Mad Eye Moody, like absolutely horrible eye injury that he got. Still pumped out 60 points, just being a solid as. Maybe Matt Croker, but I don't know. I kind of feel like if you own... Sorry, Moz, but I think if you own Ryan Sutton, I think you just got to try to find the cash and upgrade to just go to Payne Haas or something and just lock that spot away because that's the way it's looking at the moment. Jackson Ford, 42 points for 80 minutes. Yeah, so obviously not great for Jackson Ford this week. Again, overall, my trades didn't work this week. Like, Murray got 88, and I had to laugh. I posted on Twitter, like, Murray laugh emoji. I just had to laugh when he got a line break assist, try assist, because I'm like, surely it just had to happen this week when he was the most traded out player. And we know that he can do it, obviously. So 88 points from him. I traded him for Ford, who scored 42. And then I traded out Walker for Hines. They basically just cancelled each other out. So I was about 40 points down in that move. Well, actually probably 60, because if I hadn't done those moves, I would have captained Turbo, who got 20 more than Hines. So, yeah, for me, those trades didn't work out, but it's okay. I got Hines in. It's fine. We'll move on. And yeah, Jackson Ford, look, 42 it's fine. It's not, and look, remember, he's only he's low 300k, so it's okay. Hopefully the ball goes to him more next week. But I'm happy enough with him. The Warriors are looking good, so there's a good chance that he can get attacking stats throughout the course of the next few weeks as well. And they don't have a bye for a while as well, which is handy, I think. Is Dillbags a sell? I'm going to say this as look, I know you guys know I love Dillbags, but completely objectively, I can't see how you would want to sell Dillbags this week because, look, frankly, as an owner, be my guest if you want to sell Dillbags because I'm not selling a guy who's got the Tigers in round 6. That's one thing. He's then got Bulldogs, Broncos. Okay, not great. But then it's Newcastle, Titans, Canberra. Like, plays around 13 bye week. For me, he's a whole. Like, I can't, like... Yeah, Incentia says it. I'll probably captain Dillbags this week if I own him. I'm probably not going to captain Dill Brown, but, like, honestly, it's a Tigers game. I can't sell. Surely you can't sell a player versus the Tigers at this point. They're conceding so many points, especially an attacking player like Dillbags. Thank God for Dillbags and his junk points as well, by the way. Really was pretty quiet, I'll be honest. He's probably not been the best trade in the last 2 weeks, but got that nice little junk try assist to Mike Seaver at the end. I'll take it. I'll take any junk points. After that Hines gate last week, I'll take any points that I can get. Aman, how much would Dillbags lose in price? So his break even was 99 and he scored about 52, so he will go down probably about maybe, there's a formula for this, I'm going to guess maybe 25 30k ish, 35k. Like if I had to guess, he'll probably be between 730 740k next week. As Jake says, yeah, who would you even bring in over Dillbags? Not many options. Honestly, I kind of wish Sean Johnson was 5'8" eligible because I think we're all high on, or at least I am, high on the Warriors train. So it'd be lovely to bring in Sean Johnson. He's looking so good. Those picks didn't lie. The preseason picks didn't lie. He's actually come back looking awesome. And yeah, as Jared says, Sean Lane back this week. So I haven't heard the full reports, but yeah, if Sean Lane is back next week, that makes me want to hold on to Dillbags even more. They had a really good combination last year. They both kind of fed off each other, attacking stats. Like Sean Lane would offload to Dillbags. Dillbags would kind of put Sean Lane through a hole as well. So yeah, for me, Dillbags is probably still a hold. What do I do with Adam Dewey? So Dewey scored 40 points this week. To be honest, I was kind of impressed he scored 40 points. I was like, what did he even do? I didn't really see him do much. It's a tough one, right? Like, he's gone down to 570k. He's going to lose even more cash. He's going to be like 540 something k, 535, 40k. So he's going to be quite cheap. And deal bags is still going to be like a 200k extra price to get to Dewey. Looking at what did the Tigers draw? So they've got Parramatta, and then they've got the bye. That is Manly, Penrith. Yeah, to be honest, I think if you can get to deal bags this week, I think it's probably worthwhile, because you can probably jump on deal bags who'll cover the round 13 bye, and then Dewey's got the bye in round 7 anyway. And then even after that, Manly, Penrith, they're not fantastic games. The Dragons game is good. Rabbitohs, Cowboys are okay, but then it's a bye again. Like, maybe he's someone who can jump on again in round 14 when he's got Raiders, Titans. But yeah, I think if you can generate some cash somehow. So, I'm thinking about how people will generate cash this week. There's probably not a lot of big cheapies that are standing out this week, but maybe someone like, you might just have to sacrifice someone like Reed Marnie, for example. If you've jumped on Reed Marnie down to maybe Sonny Luke, that's like 400k. That 400k gets you from Dewey to deal bags, still leaves you 200k. If you're a Hammer owner, Hammer so to maybe a Marzu, Miller to Marzu maybe, for example. That could be a boost, and it sounds like a decent boost. So yeah, I think Dewey's a tough one because he's going to go down in price even more so now. But yeah, I think where I can, I'd be trying to get to deal bags. Otherwise, Munster, of course, is always an option. I don't want to overlook Munster. Came in with 74 points. The issue with Munster, I guess, is he's got the bye in round 9, and I guess draw doesn't really matter too much for Munster. But I think deal bags just has that Tigers matchup this week, which looks really enticing. Whisperer is in the chat. We love Max, the one-eye man king. Yeah, Max King, absolute starter. I have a soft spot for Max King as well, because he was one of the 4 players, I think, from last season who I owned from round 1 all the way to end of the season. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. Jackson Paulo, worth the talk. Yeah, absolutely. Jackson Paulo is another centre wing I shouldn't forget about. I mean, he just keeps killing it. 87 points, scored a double. That right wing spot for the Roosters seems to be very profitable. So he's going to go up massively in price. He's going to be over probably 600k this week. So not great. Storm matchup. Then it's the Sharks. So the Roosters next 2 are not the best. Then it's the Dragons, Warriors, Cowboys, Penrith, Dragons again. I don't know. Like, we know the Roosters are a good attacking team, so it's probably not a bad idea to get him in. But I'm kind of thinking, maybe could you take a chance on someone like a Marzu instead? Maybe a Miller. I don't know. Jackson Paulo is a nice pod though. He's very, very low owned. I think he's only about 2% owned. Yeah, 2% of teams. So he's probably worth a discussion. It might be worth looking at teams that concede points to right wingers, and because like who's the Melbourne left wing defender? It would be Coates. Yeah, Coates and Olam feel pretty solid. I feel like more of their points go down the other side with Smith and Warbrick. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one to assess because the draw's not great, and he's probably going to be over 600k. So it does kind of feel a bit like we missed the boat slightly. Josh is saying Hosking, Max King, Josh King, boost for all 3. Yeah, why not? Boost for the Kings. Round 6 is for the Kings. Round 5 is all about the Prince, Nico. Round 6 is about the Kings. It's all about the Kings. It's going to be another week of reversing trades a bunch of times. Yeah, absolutely. I think depending what team list comes out. Don't forget Schuster. Schuster could be back next week as well. And all of a sudden you've got a downgrade option with a negative break even. So in terms of people looking for a downgrade option, Schuster could also be an option there as well, right? So yeah, Schuster could be someone that you downgrade to as well if you are looking for downgrade options. But yeah, I can already foresee Hosking being one of the most traded in players. Marzu, Miller, Dilbrown maybe in the top 10 just because of the good draw coming up. Jake says, I'm not keen on the Roosters players until they show some consistency. Yeah, remember, Teddy's going to be out next week as well, unfortunately. So he obviously failed his HIA, so he's going to be in that mandatory 11-day stand down. So he'll miss next week's game as well. Hogger says, Hosking is a risk, same as Marzu, but the cash generated and ceiling are huge. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's going to have a very, very low break evens, and he's a solid scorer as well. So one that you can play with confidence if he does get named to start. I feel like he will get named to start. I really hope that we see like Garner on the bench or something, like Liam Martin start, Garner on the bench, Hosking to start. It might not guarantee Hosking's full 80 minutes, but it might get him 60, 65 minutes, which might be enough. But yeah, it's a tough one to see, but kind of just need to see team lists. Stop talking about Paul. I keep on the down low. Don't worry, Duncan. I'm not. By the way, I don't want to say your full name, Duncan, but I do like that pun. But Daesh. I'll keep it on the down low. Yeah, I'm seeing a few things on Pele as well about trying to fix your fourth front row forward. Like Pele, to be honest, I'm not really that fussed. If he's just gonna sit there, not change a price, I'll deal with him another time when I've got like 300k in the bank that I can just move him to someone who I can play. But front row forward is never going to be a spot I'm going to look to play a third reserve, I think, anyway. And yeah, and so that's another reason why I'm thinking I can maybe even downgrade someone like Miney, because I feel like Hooker I don't even need to have as a fourth reserve, because I think ultimately what I'll try to do is fullback, halfback, 5'8", try to get 3 gun reserves there, and then probably either, the way it's looking, probably second row forward is a really deep position this year. So it could be Hooker or second row forward. So I kind of feel okay, even centre wing, for example. So I kind of feel like I can maybe get away with downgrading Reid Marnie and just killing that position, just go down to a real cheapie. That gives me funds to make some big upgrades elsewhere. Incentia says, would I move on Welch? To be honest, if I had in an ideal world the ability to move on him, I probably would. Like, I'll quickly just go to my team for anyone who's interested. So he's got a break-in of 58. So he's going to stay in price. He's going to be around this 450k. I don't really see him changing too much. So it's going to take me more than 200k to get up to Payne Haas. So what I'm kind of thinking is, I think I'm just going to keep him there until round 9. And then come round 9, I'll probably just punt him for like Tarpany or something like that. And just stick with it like that, I think. Yeah, so Mudcrab is kind of on the same page as well. I'm happy with one major hooker in Grant, with someone like Ray Stone for coverage, playing as basically a utility second row forward. So much better upside punting cash elsewhere. I kind of feel the same as well. Like, if I'm being perfectly honest, the week when everyone was buying Wade Egan and Reid Marnie, I was kind of annoyed that Sonny Luke wasn't playing, because I think it was round 3, it was the bye week. Because ideally, I wasn't 100% sold on Reid Marnie, but I kind of just went with him because I thought I don't want to miss the boat potentially if he keeps it up and he has a negative break even. And I thought worst case situation, he'll make some money and I'll sell him. So I'm probably thinking Marnie, I'll go down to Sonny Luke. That's probably what I wanted to do in the first place anyway. Free up the funds and I'll use that. Like, for example, Reid Marnie down to Sonny Luke would get me like Welch up to Haas, for example. I could do that, for example. And yeah, look, Welch is not perfect, but I don't know. I'm kind of feel like I've had in the past issues when I've been trying to make moves in the front row forward, and I've kind of felt like in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really make that much of a difference. Whereas not making the moves for like Garrick when he was popping off, or making moves for Nico Hines when he was popping off, has hurt me. So I'm kind of trying to think where I can make moves more in those higher upside positions, like second row forward, the halves and the center wings and fullbacks obviously as well. But I'm pretty happy with the fullbacks that I've got for the time being. Someone saying, should I move Welch or Carrigan? I think I saw earlier in the chat as well, someone asking, is Carrigan a sell? Yeah, so Carrigan only got like, 30 something points, I think, from memory. Quickly just go to the head-to-head. I don't think he played the full 80. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I remember seeing him and Haas on the bench just laughing. I think this was at like halftime when they were killing it. Only 49 points. He had a good week 1. But since then, he's kind of just regressed to like a 60-ish. Like, yeah, he's gone 74, 63, 65, 53, now 49. I guess the issue is that in the weeks where the Broncos just absolutely pile on the points, they don't need him to go out there and play the full, big 70 minutes. Like, they can afford to keep him on ice because he's obviously the captain, very important. Only 53 minutes, that is down. So, in terms, what is he priced at? I just want to double check this. 643k, he will go down in price. To be honest, if I was moving on a Welch or Carrigan, I'd move a Carrigan. I think he's just got more value that you can use in terms of he's more expensive than Welch. And I think there's just much better options that you can move to, and in the second row forward spot. So for me, if I was debating selling one of those two, I'd probably sell Carrigan. Aman, when you're moving to get Garrick, he's important. I could get Garrick this week, if I'm being honest. If I do the boost of Marnie out for a cheapie like Sonny Luke, that gives me enough money to go Tabuai-Fidow out for Garrick. Because this is the thing as well. Remember, Khan-Pereira, fingers crossed Khan-Pereira gets named this week, because Ken Mamalo is obviously now at the Titans. Khan-Pereira just needs to step on the field and he'll make a bunch of cash. He's got like a minus 72 break even. Alamotti scored about 40 points. He had a minus 14 break even. Warbrick's going to keep making money. Now, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really know of too many cheap center wings at the moment. Maybe Bostock or Bostock, however you pronounce it, from the Dolphins. Maybe him. But I am thinking about maybe in the next couple of weeks, if I can downgrade Khan-Pereira to a nice bottom dollar or cheap center wing, that might get me like 200, 250k, and that might be the perfect time where I can go Welch up to like a Tarpany, for example. And so I don't want to just, really downgrade the hooker position and trap myself into a position where I can't make any more money elsewhere. But then I think we can make money from the Khan-Pereiras, the Alamottis, the Warbricks. Taruva, whilst he's making money, but to be honest, I'm kind of viewing him as my full center wing. I think he's pretty solid most weeks. And maybe Tabuai-Fidow to Garrick. Otherwise, instead, what I could do again is Tabuai-Fidow out for Miller or Mazu, because they're going to have the negative break evens. They could be maybe a bridge to Garrick. So what Jake says in the chat here, Garrick's probably not going to move much in price. There's probably other players to sort out first. That's true. I know with Garrick, though, once I get him in, you're kind of locking him in for the season, and you can kind of set and forget. But you can maybe look at someone like Mazu, who's going to have a really, really low break even at 580k. If he keeps his spot, we know that he's got a really high floor. So even at 580k, if he's getting you like 50 points in base power each week, that's probably offering value still. But we know he's got the upside as well. And the Knights are still scoring points, which is good to see as well. The draw is not great for the Knights. I think I mentioned it. They do have a bye in round 10. But center wing spot's an easy spot to cover, I think, with the bye. Because you've got 7 spots in total. So you're going to have one player out in Mazu, but you can easily play in that week. Melbourne have got Rabbitohs, maybe Warbrick. Titans have got Parramatta, or Alamotti has got Raiders. Yeah, for example, if Alamotti's still playing and you have him in your team, Alamotti against the Raiders is fine. So it's much easier to cover someone like Mazu in the centers when they've got a bye. So I can see myself going Mazu this week, to be honest, instead of going Garrick. As Matt says, devil on a Martin's shoulder saying, forget Garrick. What a Mazu. Yeah, I can see myself going Gregosaurus. I can see myself going for the big Greg. I've never owned him as well in SuperCoach, so I'll be very excited when I do own him, just for him to get dropped the week after he lets in 3 tries. Who would I get rid of out of Oichkamanu or Welch? Probably Welch, because I know Oichkamanu was benched, but he still played, I think, pretty decent minutes. He played, have a quick look here. He only played 38 minutes, not great. But I think it's just a value thing where, like, really the difference between, Oichkamanu is closer to Welch in price now. I mean, I think ideally if you can, Oichkamanu, because I think Welch is going to be he's going to be a starter for the Storm. Although I can equally say get rid of Welch, because at least Oichkamanu, if you keep him as like a third front row forward, he's still going to be handy, I think, during the bye period. He's not going to play State of Origin or anything like that. So he could just be a nice little plug-in in those bye weeks or the weeks after State of Origin when players are getting rested. Someone like Christian Welch, for example, will play Origin. So actually that might make me think out of the two, just thinking more long term. If you get rid of Welch now, is like the difference between the two is not going to be huge. Like, they're not going to punish you, which either one you sell. But at least Oichkamanu, you can kind of just park him in your team, and he just might be handy cover in those weeks during the State of Origin period, whereas Welch is more likely to be the one who's actually missing out. How many got? We're going for 55 minutes here, so we're going for time. We'll go for another few more minutes. I know I haven't really gone through game by game, but that's kind of not my style, to be honest. I think there are other few wrap-up podcasts that do that. We haven't really spoken too much about the Dragons-Dolphins game, but to be honest, I'm not seeing much value. I think someone in Xentia said make a poem for Ben Murdoch-Masilas, 51 points, humongous. I'm going to double check. Did he get any attacking stats, or is that all base? Was it all about that base? 24 points in tackles, 19 points in runs. He got a line break assist. Okay, he got a line break assist. Still, 43 points in just base. It's not bad from Ben Murdoch-Masila. He's been giving owners crumbs until now, so obviously you'll take 51 points. I think you should hopefully start making a little bit of money for you guys. I mean, Ben Hunt killed it. Maybe Lomax. Oh yeah, Jermaine Isako, annoyingly, still being a good option. So anyone who jumped in Isako, you've actually done very well. He's still doing very good. Maybe he's an option. I don't know. I think Marzu and Miller probably appeal a bit more to me now at this stage. Jacob Preston, cash cow of the year. Yeah, I mean, obviously now with 111, I think he still had a negative break even. He had a break-in of 7, so he's still going to make more and more money. Yeah, what a man. Preston Mania, full effect. Oh, I just keep thinking, what a game as well. How good were the games this week? I just can't get over it. So good. I can't wait to go watch highlights of games again this weekend. So fun. Sandy says, I just logged on after a weekend away. I scored 1334 this week. How does it compare? 1334 is a good score this week, Sandy. So just for kind of context at the beginning of the stream, the average in the Podmasters was 1282. So I think the way I saw it was 1250 to 1270 is par, and 1300 plus is a good week. So 1334 is definitely a good week this week. You'll probably see green arrows. Quickly touch on the round 6 dual position upgrades. Jared, to be honest, in my last stream, I did go through it. To be totally honest, nothing really Supercoach relevant. The only 3 players who are absolutely confirmed to have dual position changes is Sebastian Chris is going to get fullback. Cobbo is going to get... So was it even Cobbo? It was Sebastian Chris. Connolly Lemuelu was probably the only other one. And there was some other player I can't even remember getting another... it was New Brown from the Bulldogs. He was getting like hooker, second or forward status. It was only the 3 players getting confirmed. So like realistically, there wasn't much Supercoach relevance in the dual position changes for round 6. Heatwave says, should I be pissed I took Tarpany over Haas 2 weeks ago? I feel bad because I think I've been advocating for Tarpany. Yes, I'd be pissed if I were you, because that's a pretty close 50-50, and Haas has probably outscored him by about 60 points in that time. So don't feel too bad about it. I'm sure Tarpany, hopefully, fingers crossed, will come good. Definitely slapping the VC on Preston next week. Who do the Bulldogs even play next week? The Bulldogs play the Rabbitohs. I don't think I can VC. I don't think I can VC Preston. Actually, what's the order of games next week? If you want to have an early think about captains and vice captains, who's got the bye next week? Oh yeah, Sharks, of course. So you've got all the captains are kind of late in the week. Storm Roosters game 1. You can maybe VC Grant. Bulldogs Rabbitohs. I guess if you want to VC Preston, or Latrell maybe. Cowboys Dolphins maybe Holmes, but I don't feel that comfortable doing that. Panthers vs Sea Eagles, that's a tough one as well. You can only go one of Cleary or Turbo. You'd probably go Cleary just to be safe. Broncos Raiders, Titans Dragons, Knights Warriors, West Tigers Eels. It's an interesting week for captaincy because there's no quote unquote big team with a standout fixture. Rhys Walsh is looking like a good captain, if I'm being honest. They're playing at home against the Raiders who are leaking points. So maybe you go VC Cleary, C Rhys Walsh, or maybe you just go VC Rhys Walsh, and then you captain a Eels player. Maybe could I captain Dill Brown? Could I do it this week? Could this be the week I captain Dillbags? Ooh. Oh, of course, Fafita, Titans Dragons. Yeah, Fafita is definitely an option. I forgot about them. So Fafita could also be an option too. If Foreign is playing, that would make me much more interested in doing Fafita captain as well. Without Foreign, probably reduces him by about 5-10 points. But yeah, anyway, we'll have a proper think about vice captain and captains on the stream this week for sure. Would I consider captaining Reynolds if I had him? Nah, probably not. I think we saw that he's kind of just gone back to, I think, his usual ways. Sorry. I put my hands up. I didn't realize he scored 76 points, which is obviously quite good. He just doesn't feel like a player you captain, because we saw the week before, like, he scored like 20-something points. Like, he does have those games in him. Captain Haas, yes. To be honest, that's a very viable option as well from Davey K. You're probably going to get minimum 70 out of him. And Raiders are conceding points. Jake saying, watch the space, man. With captains difficult to pick, you're down to take the risk on Preston. Mate, if your gut is saying go for Preston, go Preston. We're all about making sure you have fun, I think, in this game as well. All right, we'll do a couple more questions, and I think we'll wrap it up there. We've just got to the hour mark. Guys, if you've enjoyed the stream, really do appreciate a thumbs up on it as well. Even if you don't want a thumbs up for me, thumbs up for the weekend of rugby. It was just, it was amazing, wasn't it? It was so good. So, yeah, do give the stream a like if you are enjoying it. Only one captain, Rhys Walsh. Yeah, probably. Corey is saying, thoughts on Cody Walker as a bit of a pod? So, Walker scored what? He scored a try, 76 points. Are we seeing Cody get back to his best? Maybe. 27 tackles from Cody is a bit out of the ordinary, I'll put it that way. He is cheap. So, I guess anyone who's selling Dewey around the same price, yeah, it's probably Cody Walker. Got the Bulldogs this week, got the Dolphins. Yeah, don't mind a pod actually in Cody Walker. So Hugh's saying who for Dewey. To be honest, yeah, Cody Walker could be a man actually around the same price. Otherwise, I'd try to get up 200k and go to Dill Bags. The Tigers match up this week. How can we donate a man? Oh, don't worry about it. Jared, we're at the end of the stream now. You don't need to worry about donation. But I think at the bottom of the chat, there's a little dollar sign. It says if you hover over it, says show your support for Aman Talks NRL SuperCoach. I think there's a little button that you can press to donate, but honestly, don't worry about it. I'm having a great time here. I don't need any donations. I'm all good, but thank you for asking. Gray says, I'll straight see Dillbags if I do. Trust me, if I straight see Dillbags, I'll let you know, and we can ride that train together. All right. We'll wrap up the stream there. I think we've just gone for over an hour now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Do please give the stream a like, as always, if you enjoyed it. Hope you all enjoyed the footy as well. We had a good SuperCoach score. No pain this week with no Nico Hines going nuclear and us not owning him. I think it was a much more balanced week. So I think hopefully you all had a pretty decent week. So on that note, going to sign off. Catch you all in the preview stream during the week, and have a good evening. See ya.